Hello and welcome. It's Box Lunch presented by nobody. For those,
absolutely fucking no one is what you're supposed to say.
It's a free show. We're not allowed cussing, but good job. Good job, Casey. We made it 10 seconds. We made it 10 seconds before something bad happened. Guys, we got a great show for you today. So much to talk about. The first thing that I want to bring up is, and we didn't get about it in the show, but I think it's incredibly important to talk about it here in Cincinnati, and that is that the All-Pro selections came out. And I think that at times it is tired. I think at times it is very tired that Cincinnati fans think that the national media is out to get them, that we don't get enough respect here in this in national media. I think that I really do. When things start going well, they're like, why won't the Colin Cowherds talk about us? Why won't Stephen A. talk about us? Why aren't we brought up in the national media? I think that's all tired. Well, why do you need constant just, approval from other people? Why do you need that? But in a season where a lot of things went wrong, there was one thing that went tremendously right, and that's Trey Hendrickson, who I think is the best free agent signing that the Cincinnati Bengals perhaps have ever had. He might be the best free agent signing that the city of Cincinnati has had in decades. Trey Hendrickson has been more successful than the King Griffey Jr. signing was. Certainly. I mean, King Griffey Jr. made the Reds relevant for a little while. It was bigger noise when it was signed, but Trey Hendrickson has fit the bill and outlived it. And he was top 3 in the sacks this year. Casey, what did he miss the sacks by? A sack and a half? Missed the league?
I'll double check, but I think it's a sack and a half.
Sack and a half as an edge rusher. And this is a team that, as we know, doesn't get a whole lot of penetration on the edge. Trey Hendrickson does. And you look out, the All-Pro teams come out. First team goes to Myles Garrett, T.J. Watt. Myles Garrett, who had 2 sacks in the final 6 weeks of the year. T.J. Watt, who at times was disappearing. Trey Hendrickson, say what you want about him. He was in every game. And he came on late. So you go to second team. All right, Trey Hendrickson doesn't get first team over Myles Garrett, who's probably going to be Defensive Player of the Year. And doesn't get first team over T.J. Watt, who has the sack record in his back pocket. So when people are voting on this, they think, T.J. Watt had another great year. And I think he did lead the league in sacks. Micah Parsons, second team. Max Crosby, second team.
That's just pathetic.
How in the world does Trey Hendrickson not get on the All-Pro team when he is just behind the league leader in sacks, when he is the only penetrating force on the defensive line from the Cincinnati Bengals, almost did it single-handedly? And the reason why, and as I mentioned, I think it's tired when people say the Cincinnati Bengals aren't respected in the national media. But the reason why Trey Hendrickson isn't on an All-Pro team is marketing. What the hell does that mean, Reed? Marketing? Well, he doesn't dominate like Myles Garrett did. Doesn't command respect from an offensive coordinator like Myles Garrett does. And Myles Garrett's the Defensive Player of the Year, so can't take anything from him. He doesn't have the all-time single-season sack record like T.J. Watt. Doesn't command offensive coordinator respect. He's not outspoken like Max Crosby. And he doesn't play on the most famous team in the sport, the Dallas Cowboys, like Micah Parsons. So the only reason that Trey Hendrickson is not on an All-Pro team isn't because of his play on the field. It's because he doesn't have the panache like these other guys. He doesn't have cameras in front of him all the time. Hell, you talk to a casual NFL fan that's not from Cincinnati, they probably don't even know who Trey Hendrickson is. And I'm being serious about that. You ask a San Francisco 49ers fan who Trey Hendrickson is, who the best defensive player on the Cincinnati Bengals is, they won't be able to tell you. And that's the only reason Trey Hendrickson did not get on the All-Pro team. Casey, as the resident Bengals fan, as the most passionate Bengals fan, how how much of an abomination is Trey Hendrickson not getting any All-Pro love?
Well, I mean, I had I tried to bring up this conversation a couple weeks ago when he was like clearly snubbed for the Defensive Player of the Year. I knew what was going to happen because there was 10 guys in front of him for DPOY, and I'm like, that's just not the case. He's definitely at least top 5, which you look at the numbers, I think Trey Hendrickson was probably 5th on that All-Pro voting list, or at least you would expect that. That wasn't even the case. I think he only got like 7 votes or something like that, which is just unbelievable. I mean, I was trying to figure this out, trying to figure out why this would possibly be the case. Max Crosby has 90 tackles. I think that actually leads the NFL in tackles for the edge rusher position or just the defensive end position. The one problem I do have with this All-Pro list is that technically TJ Watt is a linebacker if we want to get into the semantics of it.
And so is Micah Parsons, right?
Yeah, and so is Micah Parsons. Like I don't know, whatever, semantics. And then Micah Parsons, he has 60, I think, total tackles, but has 1 forced fumble. Trey Hendrickson had 3 this year, and Trey Hendrickson had more pass deflections this year. He was swatting the ball more. He had more tackles for loss. I mean, I don't know, man. At some point, like, it is a marketing issue. It's there's an awareness issue. I did think the last game of the season definitely highlighted Trey Hendrickson a lot, but it needs to be like that more often. There needs to be more conversation built around him. Announcers need to do a better job at making people aware that are just casual fans of the game to know who Trey Hendrickson is. Without Trey Hendrickson, right, this Bengals defensive pressure is non-existent. It does not exist without Trey Hendrickson. And I could make the argument for like TJ Watt that they still will have a lot of pressure coming from Alex Highsmith, from Larry Ogunjobi, Cam Hayward. I could make the argument for Myles Garrett this year that Zadarius Smith really helped elevate him to another level. I could make the argument Micah Parsons has DeMarcus Lawrence, the other guy on the other side. Right. Trey Hendrickson has no one.
Sam. Which, by the way, you guys don't want to talk about this. You don't want to talk about this, but I'm going to bring it up as we have this moment right here. We talk about how the Bengals don't get enough pass rush, but we don't, and we need to improve on the pass rush, but we don't talk about what needs to be done. Does Trey Hendrickson need to be moved? No, because he's great on the pass rush. So who's the other guy? Sorry to say it. Sorry to put that realization out there. But start thinking about that. When you say the Bengals need more pass rush, think about what you're saying. Because you know Trey Hendrickson doesn't need to be moved. So I'm just having you realize that. Casey brings up a good point. Do we need to get more awareness out on Trey? What do we need? We need to do 5K walks? Trey Hendrickson 5K? Trey Hendrickson awareness? What are we doing? How do we get this out here? It really is. The only reason that Trey Hendrickson is not an All-Pro isn't because of his play on the field. It's because that he doesn't have as big of a name as the other 4 guys that I've mentioned. That's the only reason. He doesn't play on the Dallas Cowboys. He doesn't play. Is it a Defensive Player of the Year vote? He doesn't have the league. Like, think about that. The Browns, Steelers, and Cowboys are 3 of the biggest brands in the sport. Max Crosby is a fan favorite. Raiders are up there too as one of the most famous teams in the sport. So,
Josh Allen got more votes. Josh Allen for the Jaguars.
Yeah,
it's what it is a popularity contest, and I've been saying that for a long time, and it sucks. C.J. Stroud, and again, this is another. It's a different example. C.J. Stroud definitely has earned the award. I'm not saying he hasn't, but if you look at the Offensive Rookie of the Year, you could certainly say Puka Nacua, who's broken I think 2 regular season records this year for a rookie. You could make the argument that he's had a better season than C.J. Obviously, quarterback's a vastly different position, right? He led his team to a division title, yada, yada, yada. But Trey Hendrickson having 7 votes is pathetic. And that's because it's a popularity contest. Josh Allen, I'm comparing their numbers. They've had pretty much almost an exact same season. And again, Josh Allen has more votes. Why? Because probably more people know who Josh Allen is. They don't know who Trey Hendrickson is. On the national broadcast, national scheme of things. Right. So having it be a popularity contest sucks, but it is what it is.
There is one thing I do want to bring up before we move on past this topic because
Sling it, Big
I do
Pimpin'.
think it is an interesting thought. It probably would never happen. This is a very low percentage likelihood of happening. But Max Crosby says he does not want to stay in L.A. or Las Vegas if they don't sign the head coach. He wants to be traded. Fit really well with Trey Hendrickson.
Yeah, Max
Really well with
Crosby
Trey.
is a very outspoken guy. I mean, he's a gamer. I mean, you can say what you want about Max. He's a gamer. He gives it his all the time, and that's all you can ask, especially from a defensive player. Max Crosby's a heck of a player. Didn't have a better year. I'm sorry. Didn't have a better year than Trey Hendrickson. I think that the All-Pro voters deserve an apology, and you know who else deserves an apology? Is C.J. Stroud. From me.
That was really good.
From me.
That was really good.
I looked at Elliott as I did that segue because I was proud of it. But C.J. Stroud, I had been slanted about C.J. Stroud, and you guys know why. I don't hide my allegiances at all. I let you guys know what I think, and I like to poke fun at the teams I don't like. And I have made it well, and I know a lot of you guys are watching are huge Ohio State fans. I know Tom's a huge Ohio State fan. I'm not. I don't like it. It's a very loud fan base, and I probably am a little slighted by the success that they've had in my lifetime. So it's a little painful for me at times. And I wanted C.J. Stroud to fail in the NFL. I wanted him to go, and I wanted him to not be very good. Because, once again, I've been slanted against Ohio State my entire life. My brother grew up an Ohio State fan. Both my brothers are Ohio State fans. I am not. Hearing about them all the time makes me sick. And even last week, weeks going up, everyone's telling me how great C.J. Stroud is. I was like, yeah, I mean, let's see. Let's get some more tape on him. Let's see what happens. C.J. Stroud is a gamer. So that's where my apology comes in. I'm saying it that I have let my biases get in the way of seeing what C.J. Stroud is. And C.J. Stroud was fantastic. He was absolutely fantastic. In a game in which you're playing a Super Bowl quarterback on the opposite side. In a game in which you're playing one of the most well-rounded rosters on the other side. In a game where you are playing a two-time Coach of the Year. Kevin Stefanski's going to win his second Coach of the Year. You absolutely show out. Big-time throws. Stepping up. Not a fear in the world. Just ready to game. And they come over and they talk to him, and he says all the right things in the press conference afterwards. C.J. Stroud is a guy who plays in a division that I think we slept on coming into this year. I think we all looked at the AFC South and said that's not a very competitive division, and it turned out to be one of the most competitive divisions in the National Football League. And C.J. Stroud in his rookie year with a rookie coach won it. C.J. Stroud does it. And this is perhaps the best trait of C.J. Stroud. He does not give you the ball. He does not turn the ball over. 5 picks all year. That plays. That is uncharacteristic of a rookie. C.J. Stroud has what it takes to continue not only in this postseason, but to continue playing at a very high level for years to come. They have built a team beautifully around him. He's a gamer. He's a stud. Throws a pretty ball. So I apologize for being slanted towards C.J. Stroud. It won't happen again. It will not happen again. Now, I don't think that they have a prayer against the Baltimore Ravens. I really do believe that. Sir Boy can laugh at me. I'm excited to see that spread. After the Packers dismantled the Dallas Cowboys, the spread comes out on that, and it's double digits. I think that if the Texans are going to Baltimore, if I'm handicapping that game, it's probably around a touchdown, probably over a touchdown. So we'll deal with that for right now. But for right now, congratulations to C.J. Stroud and the Houston Texans. I got annoyed. I said this off the bench. I got annoyed after we lost to the Texans. Tyler Boyd drops the pass. Everyone told me how good this Texans team is. And at the time, I thought it was just Bengals fans trying to cope with a loss. I've done it. We've all done it. I mean, we found 1,000 ways to cope with this season. Oh, we had a winning record against one of the toughest schedules ever and a hurt quarterback for 2/3 of the year, or a backup quarterback. I felt like when we lost the Texans and everyone was telling me how good the Texans were, it was just a way for Bengals fans to cope. And I had been slanted against not only C.J. Stroud, but the Houston Texans because of that. This team's good. And to give them overpraise for beating the Cleveland Browns in the postseason maybe feels a little foolish, right? Maybe feels a little foolish. But this team is going to be a team to be reckoned with. You know what? We talked before the season. Add a check mark to another great quarterback in the AFC. Look at the talent in the AFC as opposed to the NFC. In a year in which the AFC had more than half of its quarterbacks hurt, it is still a much more competitive conference than the NFC. So, guys.
I was going to add something real quick, if that's okay. The Texans were projected 5.5 wins. That was their number by Vegas, 5.5. Not only have they surpassed that, they've eviscerated it. C.J. Stroud is absolutely the guy, and now you have another force to be reckoned with in the AFC. Tom, again, I love him, but he doesn't like to overhype people, right? And that's fair. That's a fair thing. You don't want to overhype Ellie De La Cruz because he hit 220 or whatever the hell it was. I get it. I want to overhype C.J. Stroud. That guy's legit. 5 turnovers. One of those turnovers they got the ball back on. So really 4 turnovers. And I know we all said that Nico Collins is good or what. They're not that great of receivers. He is elevating. He is elevating the talent on that team. He is.
I mean,
you don't say Tank Dell is in the same. Tank Dell and Nico Collins before this season, they were in the same tier as Jamar Chase and T. Higgins.
No, they're not. No, they're not. But
below.
But if we're going to give credit to like Nico, if we're going to give over amount of credit to Puka Nacua, then we got to give credit to Nico Collins, who had decently similar years.
Well, Puka Nacua shattered every record in the world
For a rookie.
Yeah.
He had 150 more receiving yards than Nico Collins.
Nico was hurt throughout
And
the year.
Nico played 15 games, so he missed 2
Puka was
games.
also hurt though. So
how many did he play? All 17?
I don't know, but I know he was hurt.
He played 17. He played every game.
So my point is that C.J. Stroud is elevating that team to a place where nobody could have possibly dreamed. So congratulations to the Texans. Now it's just another team that the Bengals have to worry about in the postseason.
Isn't it?
Like.
God, wouldn't it be fun to be in the NFC?
I 100% agree with Elliot because it wasn't even just you want to point out Nico Collins. It's fair. All you got to do is look at the Bengals game, and Noah Brown is still open. He's still open. I mean, there's a reason why some of those guys are open, and maybe it's because of the talent level of the receiving core. But also, I think C.J. Stroud elevates the talent around him. You look at what they were able to do without him with Davis Mills for the couple weeks that he was hurt, and it was nothing. They couldn't do anything. They couldn't get going in the pass game, in the run game. I think he makes that team so much better. It's very crazy how it ended up being that they played the team that they traded Deshaun Watson for, kind of re-sparked their franchise, and they did what they did to the Browns. Kudos to CJ. I think he's going to be a problem. I think I'm more afraid of CJ than I am of any of the teams in the AFC South. Like, I don't. The Jags,
certainly. Right.
Frauds.
Their ceiling's a lot higher. I think the Colts, I need to see more of Anthony Richardson. You guys could sell all your stock on Trevor Lawrence.
I'm well gone on that.
I'm gonna hold on to that because
go ahead, you keep it.
Because it's never been lower. So I might even buy a little more.
Go ahead, keep it.
Dogecoin.
The Jags are the Dogecoin of the NFL. Good luck, keep it.
No, the Jags are the Penn Gaming of March 2000.
You're diamond handsing
2020, where it's $3. It's gonna roar up to $122 a share. But yeah, the AFC South. Someone put in there. I think the Bengals are at best the 7th best team in the AFC this year. I disagree, but I do love the sentiment because I hated being a team that people chased after. I like expectations low. I keep my expectations real. I tell my wife all the time, like, hey, don't expect something great out of me. I'm just a mediocre guy. I tell my bosses all the time, don't expect something spectacular out of me. I'm a mediocre employee. I try to over-exceed expectation because it feels a lot better than underperforming. And that's where I want the Bengals to be. You guys can laugh at the things I just said, but that's where I want the Bengals to be. I want to get back. I want it to feel the Bengals getting back to the postseason means something. You know what I'm saying?
I agree. And it certainly will mean something in this AFC. I was going to ask you, looking at next year, how many teams in the AFC will be uncompetitive? How many teams are you going to write out before the season starts? Because I can only think of 2.
Titans, Patriots.
That's it. Those are my 2. That's it.
Right? Yeah, even the Raiders are closer to that, but everybody else certainly. Yeah, that's a good point. And the conversations that we're still having about the AFC versus the NFC are silly. Yeah, the NFC has the 49ers, but who's their second best team? The Lions?
It has to be the Lions now.
Right? It's the Cowboys, the Eagles?
Certainly not the Cowboys.
So the conversations that we have between the NFC and AFC is a little ludicrous. Elliot likes to say that the AFC is wide open. It is, but it's also the most competitive conference that I've seen in a while.
It's fair.
It is wide open, but it is hard, right? It's not like you're looking at 2-3 teams that can win it. There's at this point, it's impressive. And why we laughed about the Dallas Cowboys, let's go ahead. Actually, before I get to the Dolphins, I got to reiterate the point that I'm not sure there's a more embarrassing way to say about a franchise than what happened to the Cleveland Browns. For the first time, if you're 30 years old and you are a Cleveland Browns fan, this year was the best season of your life. They won 11 games. It's the most wins that they've had in your lifetime. And they didn't win their division. They came in second. They then go on the road to play a rookie quarterback and a rookie coach, and you lose by 30. And that team you lost to owns all your picks going forward. It is the most embarrassing way that I cannot understand how the Cleveland Browns continue to do stuff like this. They have the best roster. They maybe have the most well-rounded roster in the NFL besides maybe the 49ers. And they continue to do stuff like this. It's incredible. Listen, the Dolphins, I made two bold claims last week. I said that if the Miami Dolphins go to Kansas City and beat the Kansas City Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, in negative weather, then I will take back everything I said about Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs this year. Because you guys like to make fun of me, and I get it. I'm the one guy in a room of Cincinnati fans, in a group of Cincinnati fans, and you guys know how much I love the Bengals. But I'm the one guy that talks about one of our biggest rivals, and I give them proper due. I am not in the business of projecting when something great's going to finish, right? And the Kansas City Chiefs have undoubtedly been great. I don't want to get into they're done. They're not very good anymore. So I said, if the Miami Dolphins go in there and win, I'll take back everything I said. As we all know, that not only didn't happen, it was never going to happen. The Miami Dolphins tell you what they are every year. We laugh in here. Tom, look at this teal jerseys. Yeah, they show up to negative degree weather. And Tom's right about McDaniel. I think he's a damn good coach. But when your leader is sitting on the sideline like a mummy in parkas and headgear, it's funny. They tell us what they are every single year. This team cannot. The reason that we think the Dolphins cannot play in cold weather is because we haven't seen it. It's not just presumptions. It's because every time they play in the cold weather, they lose. All three teams in their division play in cold weather. The Jets, the Patriots, the Bills. And when it gets to December, we wonder why the Dolphins don't look like the same team that they were in September and October. It's because it gets cold in the games they're playing. And when they're not at home, when they're not in warm weather, they're not very good. Tua isn't very good. They should move off that. They should. They need to get. He could be a stopgap for another year, but if Tua is your long-term answer, you're not going to get very far. You're just not. And the same thing will happen next year. We'll be 7 weeks into the year. Just like I said about the Dallas Cowboys, we'll do the same thing next year with them. They will convince us that they're a different team, that they're a new team. The Dolphins are going to do the same thing. Tua's going to be their starting quarterback. And Tua's going to, through the first 7 weeks, throw for like 18 touchdowns and like 2 picks. And they're going to beat some team by 40 points. And we're like, dude, this Dolphins team's for real. And I beg you guys, beg you to just say whatever to that. Because until our eyes see them win in cold weather, how can you consider them a serious team in the AFC? How?
I'm gonna send Casey a video that I'd like to be played. The touchdown, he threw a 50-yard touchdown pass to Tyreek Hill. I had not. So just to give a heads up, I had not watched the game. I was doing Chatterbox Bearcats. I'm not a subscriber to Peacock, so I was never really gonna watch the game. I was busy, I had a job to do. I had not seen this touchdown, honest to God, until I just looked it up right now. And Reed is 100% correct. This guy can't throw a football. He undershot him by 15 yards. And somehow, because he's Tyreek Hill, he makes the catch and he scores. And he scampers on in there. That's a horrible throw. Look at this. Look at this. Look at how short he throws this football. Tyreek has to stop on a dime and come back to the football.
And it floats.
This is your franchise quarterback? Good luck.
It wasn't even inaccurate. It just floated. It just floats in the air. And I mean, anyone could pick that off. I mean, it was really a 50-50 ball.
I had not seen that until right now when I just looked it up. Preposterous. I was right on the Dolphins all year. Fraudulent. Reed was right on the Dolphins all year. Fraudulent. I'm not believing. I'm done. And Sean, and I know my boss, God bless his heart, he's on vacation, sailing away in the high seas. Our boss took a picture of it last night, bought a Wi-Fi package to dance on his dead body. But Sean, God love him, he's been telling me, oh, the Packers are good. I have to hear all this Cowboys propaganda. And I keep hearing it, and I'm like, okay, maybe I believe. Maybe it is the Packers, or the Cowboys year. Maybe it is the Cowboys year. Sorry, I'm used to the HBO show. Maybe it is the Cowboys year. No. These are just teams that are always going to be frauds. The Jaguars, the Dolphins, and the Cowboys, forever, until the end of time, will be frauds.
Don't lump the Jags in that
You're right.
category.
The Jags aren't frauds. They're just bad. They don't even get it.
In all honesty, that's why I'm not lumping this, because they don't at least win 10 games a year like those other teams do.
Yeah, the Dolphins played nobody all year, and the 6 times they did, they were eviscerated, except for one game against the second biggest fraud. Cowboys are in the same boat. If they don't play at home against the Panthers, they're going to win. Or they're going to lose, sorry.
It is. I made this point on Off the Bench, but it is hilarious that the Miami Dolphins had the gall, as Elliot would say, has the gall, the gumption, the intestinal fortitude to demand respect. We deserve your respect. And they lose by the Ravens by 40. And to the Bills with a chance to get a home playoff game and win the division. And despite the opposing quarterback throwing 3 red zone interceptions, and then you go on the road in the blistering cold and you score 7 points on a floated ball. Tua has no arm strength. Tua has no, and I know we knew that. We knew that he didn't throw a lot of velo behind the ball. We knew that he wasn't Josh Allen. We knew that he wasn't Joe Flacco or Matt Stafford. We knew that he didn't have that arm. Joe Burrow doesn't have that strong of an arm, in all seriousness. But I've never seen a quarterback with a softer arm than Tua in the NFL. That's not true. I have seen one. This is the comparison. You tell me if you want your quarterback to be compared to this guy. Ryan Finley had a softer arm. Remember Ryan Finley? I can throw a ball left-handed harder than Ryan Finley can.
Speaking of left-handed, do you think there will ever be a good left-handed quarterback in the NFL, or is that done?
Mike Vick?
No, again. I'm saying again.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it in a while.
Well, like the reason that
even Mike Vick. Mike Vick was great. Mike Vick was one of the greats. Mike Vick is not a Hall of Famer. Mike Vick is.
I forget which one of the 49ers.
Is he?
I think so.
One of the 49ers quarterback, Montana, or I can't remember the other guy, but one of those guys was left-handed.
Boomer?
Was Boomer left-handed?
Yep.
I don't think in today's day and age, I don't think a lefty plays anymore.
Well, the reason that the lefty doesn't work, or you don't see a whole lot of lefties, isn't because like it's like a weirder thing. It's not like in baseball where you can't have a left-hander play shortstop because he's got to turn his whole body to throw to first base. The reason that there's not a whole lot of left-handed quarterbacks is simply because there's just not as many left-handed people in the world. That's why. It doesn't necessarily kill you, but yeah, I mean left-handers
Mike Vick most definitely not in the Hall of Fame.
He's not in the Hall of Fame?
No.
So the NFL Hall of Fame, I've told this for a while. Like, I don't know the parameters because sometimes I see a guy get in there, I'm like, what? You know what I'm saying? Like Carson Palmer has better stats than a lot of NFL Hall of Fame quarterbacks.
Oh, yeah.
Has a lot better stats. You want to go look up something fun? You're on the Google machine.
Yeah.
Go look at Broadway. I know it was a much different game 50 years ago. Go look up Broadway Joe Namath's stats.
He didn't win. Did he won one Super Bowl?
He won one Super Bowl. He had like one winning season.
Yeah.
He threw
He had
100.
a QB record of 62, 63, and 4.
He threw 160 touchdowns and like 250 interceptions.
Career complete. He had 170 touchdowns, 220 picks. Completion percentage. Any guesses?
In the 50s?
50% for a career.
Yeah, it is hilarious. Like 173 touchdowns, 220 interceptions. Dude threw fewer touchdowns than like Andy Dalton. Once again, completely different game. It's like looking at Cy Young stats and be like, this guy has 511 wins. He must be the greatest of all time. Nah, not really. So we talked about C.J. Stroud. We talked about Trey Hendrickson awareness. I've been beating the drum on Jordan Love, and I know Tom hated when I did it. But Jordan Love, did you watch the game? The dude can flick it. He can flick it. The dude's a gamer. Middle of October, the jury was out, right? He looked good some games. Didn't look very good some other times, but he's essentially a rookie. I know you could say he's been in the system for 3 years, but he's essentially a rookie. This is his first time playing in the NFL. And I know being under the guidance of I don't know how much guidance Aaron Rodgers has given you, but being in a system for 3 years is certainly going to teach you a thing or two. But over the past 9 weeks, 20 touchdowns, 1 interception. That's the best 9-week stretch of any quarterback in the NFL this year. And he's doing it. They are the youngest team to ever make the postseason. The Green Bay Packers are the youngest team. And you could say the NFC wasn't very tough. The NFC North certainly wasn't very tough. And that's true. That's 100% true. But Jordan Love had a coming out party this weekend. Do I think that they're going to beat the 49ers? No. That's a 10-point spread. I'm probably going to take the 49ers. But Jordan Love, he's a guy. He's a dude. In the same breath that I think C.J. Stroud is a guy, and I apologize to him, I think Jordan Love is just as good. A little older. You got to pay him a little earlier. But I think Jordan Love, I don't know how they do it. There's some teams that have had a lot of success, have a lot of luck. The Green Bay Packers went Hall of Fame quarterback to Hall of Fame quarterback. Am I going to crown? Am I going to put a bust, go ahead and make Jordan Love's bust and send it up to Canton? No. But he's a franchise guy. He's a guy you can get behind. Jordan Love is damn good. He really is. And I was
going to say he's certainly better than any other option that you're going to get if you try to replace him. There's nobody in the draft I say, oh, yeah, he's going to replicate what Jordan Love's doing this year. I don't think so. There could be Caleb Williams, sure, if you have the number 1 pick, but you don't. So, yeah, you pay him. And that's where I disagree with Tom because if there was several years on the deal, sure. But there's 1 year left.
Well, that's where, like, Tom earlier in the show was going, you got to have a plan. You got to have a backup plan. Talking about Tua. And I was like, he's bringing up Le'Veon Bell. The reason that like I said, the reason that you haven't seen a quarterback ever hold out is because they get paid. Because they're that valuable. They're that important.
You can't replace a good quarterback.
Right.
You can replace a good running back.
You can. Very easily.
Very easily. I would say that, like, again, I've only found one instance of running back not being able to be replaced, and it's Tony Pollard of the fraud Cowboys. He's looked terrible all year as the RB1. But going back to Jordan Love, I think if you have to say, again, who's the most impressive quarterback this weekend, I would still say it's C.J. Stroud. But again, Jordan Love has proven, at least to me, over the past 8 weeks, and you might say it's a fluke 8 weeks, but 8 weeks is 8 weeks. We're not talking about a game. We're talking about several games dating back several months. So I would say Jordan Love, you certainly pay him this offseason because there is not going to be anybody in the open market that you're going to find better. So I would go Jordan Love. Jordan Love is certainly better than Kirk Cousins. As of right now, you'd take him over.
Yeah, I know. I don't want to do the power rankings thing quite yet because we could do that in the off season and it'd make for fun shows. But Jordan Love, you simply got to pay him. If Jordan Love's agent needs to go into Green Bay and just I'm not playing for $12 million next year. I'm sorry. I'm not playing for $12 million because I deserve more than that.
If they're not going to win, but if they were to win against the 49ers, which Aaron Rodgers seemingly never could do ever,
right?
Pay him then. You pay him after the game. That's where I am with Jordan Love, and I didn't believe in this guy at all. Reed told me his numbers a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, what? Is that real? And yeah, he's had a damn good season.
He's more passing yards, more touchdowns than C.J. Stroud. He played 2 more games, but he had 10 more touchdowns.
I mean, he's second in touchdowns this year.
Yeah,
and you talk about throwing to nobody.
Right, they're the youngest team in the NFL. He took the youngest team in NFL history to the postseason. He took, and this is where it sold me on Jordan Love. And you talk about how one game can change perception. It was the final game of the year against the Chicago Bears. And I mentioned this. Aaron Rodgers played the Detroit Lions last year. You win and you're in. You win this game, you're in the postseason. And Aaron Rodgers, quite honestly, looked terrible. Aaron Rodgers is he's in the pantheon of quarterbacks of this sport. He's fantastic. He's the first guy that I remember growing up that wowed me. Aaron Rodgers was. But in a win and get in his final year for the Green Bay Packers, didn't get it done. Played very bad. Jordan Love in his first year with the Green Bay Packers, with the youngest roster to ever make the postseason, torched the Chicago Bears, 28 of 32, something like that, making fantastic throw after fantastic throw, and that's what sold me on it. And then he comes in and we plays the Dallas Cowboys. Cowboys 16-0 at home. They're so fast. This defense is fantastic. Jordan Love torched him. Absolutely torched them. Jordan Love's a gamer. I don't know. You talk about how the 49ers always beat the Packers. Packers always beat the Cowboys.
That's true. That is
always
very
beat
funny.
the Cowboys. Always, every year.
They showed a montage into that game, and it was very funny. One of the montage clips was Dez Bryant's drop, which wasn't a drop, but they ruled it a drop because we don't know what a catch is in the NFL. What do you think's a worse loss for the Cowboys? That loss or this loss?
When you don't even that's more emotionally invested. When you get your ass kicked, you just check out. Although, man, 34-11 to the Steelers still stings. That still stings.
I watched again, and Tom was right. All these games kind of sucked, which is brutal because the wild card weekend is one of my favorite weekends in sports. This weekend coming up is one of probably top 3. I would say March Madness is always going to be my number 1. That Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, my favorite 4 days in all of sports throughout the year. Wild card weekend second, and then it's this week coming up, which is my third. I love this weekend. Love it, love it, love it. There's going to be a lot of good games. But saying that, if you're the Cowboys and you're the Dolphins and you're the Browns and you look back at what happened this weekend, how can you not? And I get maybe it's loser mentality, but I agree 100% with Reed. 100%. I would rather be the Bengals right now. Finish with a 9-8 season, knowing that our quarterback was injured. Our future's still bright.
Right.
But we did not get humiliated. This is their pinnacle. This is what the Browns live up to. Reed just said it. It's been their best season ever. The Cowboys played up to every expectation possible and won their division. This is as good as the Cowboys can be, and they got boat raced. They got boat raced by a rookie quarterback and a 9-win Packers team. I'd rather be the Bengals.
It's certainly different. 2 years ago, I would take making the postseason, right? But after the Bengals have been to where they've been, the AFC Championship game in two consecutive years, the Super Bowl 2 years ago, then to be honest, if you given me the option beforehand, hey, would you rather your Bengals play at home and get utterly humiliated, or would you rather just sit this one out? I'm sitting it out.
Do you think Jake Browning and the Bengals would have put up a better fight than the Browns did against the Texans?
I think that Jake Browning and the Bengals would put up a better fight against the Bills in this weather than the Steelers will. I don't see a world in which the Steelers win this game. I really don't. And I'm willing to admit I'll do the same thing. If the Steelers beat the Bills today, then I take back what I said. You know what? I won't give another football take for a couple hours, for a couple days. That's what I'll do. But this was a coming out party for Jordan Love, and it is, man. You know, side note here. We're talking about the Packers going Hall of Fame quarterback, and then Jordan Love, who looks like another guy. It's not to the same extreme. But here in Cincinnati, we don't get enough credit for our quarterback transitions. We've had 3 franchise quarterbacks that were pretty good. Once again, Carson Palmer isn't Brett Favre. Andy Dalton certainly isn't Aaron Rodgers. But we've gone back-to-back. Like, we aren't lost in a wasteland like the Cleveland Browns and Chicago Bears have been. We've drafted 3 consecutive pretty good quarterbacks in Carson Palmer, Andy Dalton, and now Joe Burrow. So I just want to roar that, bring that in. And you ask about, would I rather sit at home or watch the Bengals get blown out? Like I said, 2 years ago, I would have taken getting blown out because at least you got to play a postseason game. Winning that game against the Raiders 2 years ago was absolutely incredible. And what the Detroit Lions are going through at this very moment is bar none. This is why you're a fan. This truly is why you're a fan. If you can do it in all one fell swoop, where you win your first playoff game, you come out, and you get it into the Super Bowl and you win it like the Bengals almost did, man, incredible. But I will argue that if the Lions continue their success, say they lose this week, right? Or even if they make the NFC Championship game. I've always said that the first year of doing things that everyone laughed at you for feels better than getting over the mountaintop. I've experienced this, and I know you guys want to talk about the Cubs, but 2015 Cubs was way more fun than the 2016 Cubs because the 2016 Cubs were supposed to win the World Series. The Detroit Lions now will have expectations, and that's okay. Breathe this in as much as you can, but you will never have more fun as a Lions fan than you had this weekend beating your former franchise quarterback at home. And it can snowball out. You know, if they win this game and they go to the NFC Championship game, they can keep riding the wave. But this will be a year that the Detroit Lions will forever remember. And I disagree with Tom about booing Matt Stafford. I think that was all in good fun. In all seriousness, you guys might know more Lions fans than I do. I know a couple, but I feel like there's nothing but love for Matt Stafford. I know he traded out, but like, can you blame him based on where the Lions were going at that time? He's just trying to make something out of his football career. And the booing just seemed like good. It just seemed like a good jabbing, right? It just seemed like sports fandom, right? You boo the opposing quarterback. I'll tell you right now, I love Joe Burrow. Love him. I defend Joe Burrow, and I will with a sword and shield until I fall off the cliffs of Thermopylae. I will. I'll defend Joe Burrow with 299 other Cincinnati Bengals fans facing the millions of Persian army. I just threw like 300 references in there. It was beautiful. But I'll do that. But if Joe Burrow at the end of his 7-year contract goes somewhere else, goes somewhere in the AFC, and we got a new quarterback, and we're doing pretty well, doing good things, and Joe Burrow comes into Paycor Stadium, I'm booing Joe Burrow. It doesn't change my love for him. It's just for the next 60 minutes, you're the enemy. You are the enemy. That's all that was. Him comparing that to the Chicago Bulls thing, those things couldn't be further apart. But
I couldn't tell if they were booing Stafford or if they were booing the Rams as a whole. That's the part I never really saw, because in that little tiny clip, it's just Stafford walking out, but I don't know if that was the whole team or just him. Either way, I wouldn't have booed Stafford in that situation, a guy who's given 12 years. But to Reed's point, it is sports. That's just what you do. When the other team walks into your house, you boo him. And Nick Kirby put in the chat, by the way, that if a Reds player does bad, you shouldn't boo him. Disagree. Hard disagree. I sat and watched Kevin Gregg come in 5 straight times and blow every game under the sun. Same with J.J. Hoover. I watched all these bums come out here. If I want to boo somebody, I'll boo them. That's all I had to add.
But I like how you guys are talking about crying. There's a very funny video that, if you guys talk for long enough, I'll find of me when we beat the Raiders. I had to go to a freaking baby shower, wife's family.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah, and I told Mariana, I was like, I'll go. It was the first baby in her family, so like it was a big event. It's like, I'll go, but I'm sitting in the room when the Bengals game turns on. And there's a video of me like hiding behind a chair on that final throw from Derek Carr that gets picked off by Jermaine Pratt. I was hiding. Golly, man. I cried when they lost to the Steelers in 2015 too. I'm not afraid to cry.
I'm not afraid to cry. I'm not afraid to cry. If I was a Detroit fan, I would have absolutely cried. Kirby said, it's super helpful to boo our players. It's really going to help. Yeah, nobody gives a shit, buddy. Listen, I've watched these players be bad for long enough. If I want to boo somebody, I can boo somebody.
What are you supposed to do?
You clap for him? You clap for him. After David Hernandez blows up another game, you clap for him. 10 runs. Good job. Good job.
If
there
I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan and Dak, or if Joe Flacco, we'll do Joe Flacco. If that game was in Cleveland and he throws back-to-back pick sixes, I'm booing the shit out of that. Sorry,
of course you are. Of course you're booing them.
What?
You absolutely boo your own players when they're doing bad. You love them too when they pitch good. It's part of the reward. When you make me sad for your poor play. Listen, I'm going to make you feel bad for your. It goes back and forth. It goes back and forth.
I think, but as I mentioned, I don't think booing Matt Stafford changes the love that Detroit has for that man. And Matt Stafford is a delight to watch. He really is. I talk about, like, as football fans, we like sitting around for 60 minutes and watching a good game. That's why, like, that's what's so disparaging about the Kansas City Chiefs. They used to be a fun watch. You used to sit down and hate them or love them. You're going to watch a fun football game. Now they're not even fun to watch. They're a bit of a drag to watch. Josh Allen, Matt Stafford are still a delight. An absolute delight to watch. Casey, any points?
Not about the.
Can't see any points.
I'm freezing my ass off.
My toe. I've lost feeling in my toes. I'll say that.
I think it's okay to boo. When your team is doing bad, you have the right to boo. The way I look at it is it's the same thing as we, right? Like when I refer to my team as we, I've invested my time, energy, effort, money into this team.
That's right.
I'm going to do with that time, effort, energy, money what I want to do with that time, effort, energy, money. And if that means I'm going to boo someone for fumbling the ball on the 25-yard line when we had the game sealed in 2015, I'm going to boo them for the rest of my life.
Right.
Yeah, that's basically how I feel as a fandom.
You cannot boo Jeremy Hill anymore.
Oh, yeah,
you can.
What?
You can.
No,
you
can.
Mm-mm.
Yes, you can.
See, this is where I put a line in it. I will not boo Steve Bartman anymore.
Well, you should have never booed Steve Bartman to begin with.
Well, absolutely,
killed him.
I can.
He was in the
I
stands.
killed Steve Bartman, although
killed him.
hasn't been seen. Hasn't been seen.
Reed and the rest of Chicago killed Steve Bartman. They killed Jerry Krause. God knows how many others they've killed. But it's different. I'm never
no. Jeremy. After you win, Jeremy Hill thing is in the past.
It's vastly different. If Heath Hembry walks past me on the street, I'm not booing Heath Hembry. If J.J. Hoover walks past me, same thing. I'm not booing J.J. Hoover anymore. Jeremy Hill lost that team everything. Not only that, he has outwardly cursed Bengals fans ever since.
Yeah.
So, no, he will get boos until the end of time, and he deserves
Correct.
It is funny. I just said that. And if I see Daniel Murphy, anytime I see Daniel Murphy on a baseball field, even when he came to the Cubs later on in his career, but based on what Daniel Murphy, when he was on the New York Mets, did to the Chicago Cubs in the 2015 NLCS, I mean, that dude has warped my brain, warped my heart. That was the most pathetic. We talk about crying as a sports fan. I'll be completely transparent right now. The most pathetic cry that I've had as a sports fan was crying in Game 4 of the 2015 NLCS when the Cubs got swept by the Mets. I held on to just this little bit of hope. I was like, man, if there's any team that's going to come back from 3-0, it's my Chicago Cubs. And very early on in Game 4, they were getting smoked. Daniel Murphy hit another home run, and I just started crying, sitting there in my dorm, watching it by myself. That was the most pathetic I've ever felt as a sports fan. So, speaking of pathetic, UC basketball.
That's not a good transition.
I've been killing it on the transitions.
Don't give the camera to me. You said how many of these moral victories can you have? They beat a top 12 team on the road.
Okay, so I'm asking the question. Like it is still very high, right? UC fans, man, you're competing, and that's literally, we talked about it last week. All you can ask for is your team to compete in a big boy conference. But at some point, I said if they lose, if they compete in both these next two games against very good teams, TCU at home and Oklahoma on the road, if they lose in heartbreaking fashion again, I mean, how many of these losses do they pile up before you start thinking, man, we got to win one of these, right? Like
They did, but that's my point. They did.
Will BYU be ranked next week?
Yeah, they keep winning. What are you talking about? BYU won again.
They won this weekend.
Yeah.
I don't think BYU is a very serious team.
I think they lost to top 12 or top 14 Baylor on the road.
Yeah.
That was their big loss. I think UC is fine. Again, how many of these moral victories? They've played 3 ranked opponents, 2 of them on the road, and they've won one of them. How many moral victories? I don't know. They've won one. So
listen, it wasn't like they lost by 5 points or they lost by a couple of possessions. They lost because they missed a basket. They were literally a shot away from winning both games, and it wasn't like they made a couple mistakes. It was just one bad coaching decision, which, I mean, you could argue that giving it to Lukosius was good enough, but again, they were just one basket away. Right. It wasn't like they were a couple possessions like some other team here in Cincinnati that had moral victories, which I don't understand because those were a ton of moral victories for the Musketeers, and UC can't get 2. We can't get 2 moral victories for UC? Okay.
I agree, Casey. Casey.
Well, it is jarring, and this is where it's fun being in this city with 2 teams that hate each other. Like we said, like we brought up, UC loses to Texas on a final shot at home, and they're 6-point favorites. Congratulations, the Bearcats. They showed out. They stood up to the Big 12. Xavier loses to the reigning national champs, who are going to be probably number 1 in the country in about an hour, about 10 minutes when the AP poll comes out. Lose to them by 5, and they are bums. They suck.
Do you think Cintas is going to hang the banner of Rothstein tweeting out that they're the best 500 team in the country?
Do you think that?
Do you think they will?
They should.
Right next to the NIT championship.
They should.
Banner?
I saw that. That was a very funny joke. That was a very. Did you see the one where Joe Lunardi put out that? Joe Lunardi puts out big games today, and it says, I currently have projected Seton Hall as an 8 seed versus so-and-so, and it was Xavier, NCAA considered, and someone made a graphic, hang the banner for NCAA considered. Xavier fans are in on that joke, and I get it. Listen, it's funny that we have banners for every NCAA tournament we've ever been to. It's funny that we have banners for winning the NIT, all these fun things. I'm just going to keep posing the question, is how many times is UC going to lose in the Big 12 before we stop patting them on the back for competing?
Well, they're 1-2. They won 1.
So is BYU, and you talk about them like they're some world beaters.
Well, they are.
They're 1-2, and they have the same record in the Big 12 as UC.
Okay. All right. That's enough of that. Xavier sucks. Go ahead.
Xavier is sneaky. I don't think Xavier's going to be a tournament team, but the only thing I got to say is the Xavier team has looked pretty well. They're gonna Seton Hall's gonna be ranked here soon, so that's a ranked win for them. They go to Providence, which is a famously tough place to play, beat them by 20 points. So I'm just saying, don't sleep on the Xavier Musketeers quite yet. I will hold until it's not true. I'll say that the Xavier Musketeers will finish higher in the nets than the UC Bearcats. That's my ridiculous take.
Finished higher in the net. Hang the banner. All right.
Whoa. If Xavier finishes higher in the net than the UC Bearcats, how in the world can you continue to sit there and go, UC's pretty good, they're pretty good, and Xavier sucks? If they finish higher in the net, then that would mean that you would have to rescind that take.
No, because we have a better record. That's all that matters.
Okay.
Winning record. Listen, if I lost to a team like North Dakota, or wherever the hell Xavier lost to,
Oakland and Delaware.
If I lost to a team like South Dakota, like Xavier lost to, I would be upset too, and I would want to try to be ahead of my rival in the net. Like that means anything.
Well, not only would we be higher than you in the net, but we'd also would have beaten you. So.
Okay. All right. Well, that's fine. How many moral victories? I don't know, but we have one real one against the top 12 team on the road. I don't think Xavier has that. All right, here we go. I saw the J Bar, my picks tonight. I want to get this out because I know a lot of people are thinking about betting the under, and I have some under stats for you. The unders always hit in these freezing cold games, says Bill Simmons. This is a quote today. Unders by temperature in the NFL playoffs since 2003. When it's sub 40, the under is 45, 44, and 2. 51%, really nothing to write home about. When it's sub 30, the under is 18, 29, and 1, only hitting at 38%. When it is sub 20, 8, 12, and 1, 40%. When it's sub 10, 4 and 3, 57%. Cold weather is not enough for just the under alone, right? So then we go to unders with winds. The wind is the big thing. Sub 40 in wind with 10-mile-per-hour winds, 28 and 1, 71%. Sub 30, 9, 5 and 1 with 10-mile-per-hour winds, 64%. Sub 20, 10-mile-per-hour winds, 6, 1 and 1, 86%. And sub 10 degrees with 10-mile-per-hour winds, 3 and 0, 100%. Tonight, again, below 20 degrees, winds of 10 plus miles per hour. The under has never lost in the NFL since 2003 in the postseason. I will take the under in the first game. That is my big pick. That is my big pick of the day.
I have not been on the wrong side against the spread yet this postseason. I took the Texans, their spread and their money line. I took the Chiefs. I took them -3, and I took them -6.5. I bet on the Packers money line and the Packers spread. That was a huge win because they were plus 270 on the money line. I did the same with the Rams last night. I took them spread. I took them money line. I accidentally bet the money line twice last night. So that was a bit of a – they actually offered me a cash out on that final Rams drive where I would have gotten my money back. Like I would have gotten a couple of dollars over what I bet. I thought about taking it, and I was like, let's just take this. I don't know. This is going to shake out pretty well because I also had a parlay, like a $5 parlay to win $800 that made it all the way to that game. But
I'm just heartened by the Rams.
I don't know how I feel about I'm not going to – I can't take a side on either one of the Bills or the Steelers.
What about the under? The under I just gave. Do you like it?
I don't know if I'll bet the total. I'll probably just bet some bull junk. I'll probably just bet some props. I really like James Cook to score. James Cook to score. So that's what I'm going to bet in the first game. The second game, I like Tampa Bay. I've ridden my gut this entire wild card weekend. I would hate to go 4-2 against the spread, but I'm going to take Tampa Bay because I think the Eagles are spiraling out of control. And everyone laughed at me last week when I said if the Eagles lose, they're going to fire Nick Sirianni. I said that. Everyone giggled. Tom said, I don't believe that. Elliot laughed at me. And then I think like 2 hours after that show, reports came out that if they lose, they're going to fire Nick Sirianni. Basically said that. So we'll see what happens. I've also said I don't think Bill Belichick will succeed anywhere he goes. I think that the exception to that is if he goes to Philadelphia. That's a pretty formidable team. That's pretty interesting. I think, while I'm on the Bill Belichick slander, I think there's only like 3 teams in which that fit Bill Belichick, and the Eagles are one of them. So that'd be very interesting if that happens. But I'm going to take James Cook. I'm going to take the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Casey, any points?
Like I said earlier, I was looking at the rushing attempts just on DraftKings. James Cook is sitting at 15.5. I'd take that. Jaylen Warren.
I got 14.5 last night on that.
Yeah, that's huge. Jaylen Warren at 8.5. I'll take that. He's been averaging like 9 carries a game, so I think that fits. Josh Allen sitting at 9.5. I don't know if I would do that one.
Hammered it. Not only Casey, he's hit it every single game under this new OC except for one time. He hasn't hit it one time. Every other time he's hit 10 carries.
Well, again, I'll take that too. And then Najee Harris, 16.5. The last 3 weeks he's been in the plus 20s. So hammering Najee Harris at 16.5. It's plus 105.
I'll ride that.
That's my big one. That's what I would put a lot of money on.
I have breaking news. Breaking news. On January 15th in the year of our Lord 2024 at approximately 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Rita Roo has won a bet. I bet on the under in the first half of the Ohio State-Michigan basketball game.
Let's go!
You know what's funny about that?
It was 70 points. I was like, there's no effing way.
Let's go!
They scored 70 points in the first half.
Did you do it on DraftKings?
Yeah.
So I got the notification on my phone, like in the middle of the show.
I forget that you bet that.
And I was like,
Tom was talking about some bull junk up here, and I pulled up my phone. I was like, I think I'm going to bet this college basketball game. So I bet it during the show.
Nice.
So, yes. Yes, we got Nova and Marquette here at 2:30. Should be a lot of fun. Guys, I hope you guys liked Box Lunch today. We brought it to you guys free because of the kind of snafu that we had last week with the internet. We felt, hey, we'll give you guys something good. And it's MLK Day, so hopefully you guys are enjoying your day off for those that didn't have to work today. I will say, I'll challenge you guys. Go to our Off the Bench stream. If that stream gets 50 comments.
Individual comments
from different people. If that stream gets 50 comments, Wednesday when Elliot's hosting will be free as well. So that's the challenge. If you guys don't know, subscribing, liking, commenting, it helps us grow tremendously. It really does. There's an algorithm. There's computers. There's scantrons that keep you and get in front of people's eyes. And we're trying our best to get in front of as many eyes as possible so we can continue doing this show. So if you're not subscribed, I think most of you guys that are watching right now are subscribed. Subscribe, like, leave a comment in the Off the Bench stream. Casey.
Also,
any points?
Also, if you enjoyed this show, the other shows are very fun too. When Elliot hosts, it's a lot of profanity. This is our HBO show.
That's my cue.
Yeah, that's the
I just
shtick.
curse a lot.
And on Fridays we do Quiplash, which is probably the most fun that we ever have in Off the Bench because it's just wild. I don't know if any of y'all have played Quiplash. I implore you to look it up because it is just a lot of fun and it's just wild. It's just a complete wild west in that show. Please, if you want to support us, it'd help us a lot by becoming a member. It's like $10 for the lowest member, and then $25 for the leader of men.
Correct.
And I think that also includes maybe some other perks as well. But
correct.
I digress.
So we'll round off this show by doing two things, saying one and showing you another. The first thing I'll say is, and it's about a take on Off the Bench, Tom said that we'd like to throw Aaron Rodgers underneath the bus. And I don't think that's true. I think he's under the bus a lot because he gets a soapbox and stands in the middle of the street. The reason people don't like Aaron Rodgers is because he can't stop talking. Like he brings it all upon himself.
No, Reed, he tells the truth.
Brings it all like everyone goes, it's because Aaron Rodgers didn't get the vaccine. It's like, yeah, Lamar Jackson doesn't have the vaccine. Kirk Cousins doesn't have the vaccine. Do every time that someone asks them a question, do they bring it up? No. The reason people don't like Aaron Rodgers is because people don't like Aaron Rodgers. You reap what you sow, Aaron. You reap what you sow. And if you want to continue to make bold claims and say all this crazy stuff, then yeah, people are going to criticize you. But don't think it's some vindication that there's some conspiracy out there against you, Aaron. I'm sorry. God, I hate Aaron Rodgers. I hate him. Second thing I got to say is when I stand up here and I wear gray, this is what happens. Love those pit stains.
Oh, no.
See you guys tomorrow on Off the Bench.